Okay, so get ready because today we're going deep on AI ethics and governance.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big one.
It is a big one.
And you're here because you know this is going to change everything.
Definitely.
So we're diving deep into the 2025 AI Regulatory Playbook by Divyan Gupta.
Right.
And it's amazing. Like
Yeah.
by 2025, 60% of the global economy will be under some form of AI regulation.
It's huge.
It's wild.
It's massive, yeah. And the economic impact is only one part of it.
Right.
PwC says the global AI market will be worth almost $16 trillion by 2030.
Wow.
We're really on the edge of a huge shift, and businesses are definitely feeling it.
Yeah, I bet.
One survey said that 87% of business leaders are worried about these regulations coming up.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are some serious numbers.
Yeah,
It sounds like the stakes are incredibly high.
they are.
So where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, the article we're looking at makes a really important point.
Okay.
It says AI isn't just about having cool new technology. It's about making decisions that have a real impact on people's lives.
Yeah, that's true.
And those decisions have to be made responsibly and fairly.
Right. So we can't just create these amazing AI systems.
Right.
We also have to make sure they're being used ethically.
Absolutely.
What does that actually look like in practice?
So one of the biggest challenges is making sure these AI systems are transparent.
Okay.
Think about it. How can you really trust a system if you don't understand how it works?
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's where explainable AI or XAI comes in.
Okay, XAI, break that down for me.
Okay, so imagine you could actually see the reasoning behind an AI's decision. Like you had a button that said, show your work.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's basically what XAI is trying to do.
Oh, okay.
It lets us trace the steps the AI system took to get to that decision.
So it's kind of like AI is leaving a trail of breadcrumbs so we can follow its logic.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is important for a few reasons.
Okay, I mean,
First, it builds trust.
Okay.
If people understand why an AI made a certain recommendation, they're more likely to accept it.
Right. That makes sense.
It's like the difference between a doctor just telling you to take a pill versus the doctor actually explaining why you need that specific medication.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I definitely feel better when I understand the reasoning behind a decision.
Right.
Whether it's from a person or, a machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, XAI is becoming super important for following all these new regulations.
Okay.
Governments all over the world are demanding more transparency from these AI systems.
That makes sense.
They want to make sure they're operating ethically and legally.
So XAI isn't just a nice to have anymore.
No.
It's like a must have.
It is, if you want to avoid getting in trouble.
Right. Okay.
And the third big benefit of XAI is that it can actually help us find hidden biases.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. By seeing the reasoning behind the AI's decision, we can spot patterns that might show unfair or discriminatory treatment.
That's really important.
It is.
So XAI, it builds trust. Make sure companies are following the rules, and it helps us fight bias.
Exactly.
Okay. That's pretty impressive.
It is, and it leads us to another critical piece of AI ethics privacy.
Right.
These AI systems need tons of data.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that data includes really sensitive personal information.
It can be a little creaky to think about.
It can be.
Like how much of my personal data is being used to train these systems.
Right, and that's a big question.
It is.
How do we balance the need for all this data
Yeah.
with the need to protect everyone's privacy?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is. But the good news is that new regulations are starting to address this.
Oh, good.
For example, the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR in Europe,
Right.
that gives people more control over their data. And here in the U.S., California has the Consumer Privacy Act, or CCPA.
Okay, so those are good steps in the right direction.
Definitely, we're starting to see a real shift towards more data protection.
And that's a good thing.
It is a very good thing. Now, let's change gears a bit and talk about the global regulatory landscape.
Okay.
It's a complex and fascinating situation.
It is.
Different countries are taking very different approaches.
Yeah, it feels like every week there's a new headline about some new AI regulations somewhere.
I know.
It's hard to keep up.
It is.
Can we do like a quick world tour of some of the key developments?
Absolutely. Let's start with the United States.
Okay.
Now, there isn't a federal AI law yet,
Right?
but there's a proposal called the Algorithmic Accountability Act that's moving through Congress.
Okay. And what would that do?
It would require companies to analyze the impact of their AI systems,
Okay.
especially to see if there's any potential for unfair treatment.
So even though it's not a law yet,
Yeah.
it shows that the U.S. government is starting to take this seriously.
Definitely. What about individual states, though?
Oh, yeah. What about that?
California is definitely leading the way here.
Okay.
They just passed a law that focuses on the transparency of what they call generative AI systems.
Generative AI.
Yeah.
What's that?
So generative AI refers to any AI system that creates content,
Okay.
like text, images, audio, or video.
Oh, so like those AI systems that can write articles or compose music.
Exactly.
Wow.
This new law says that the developers of those systems have to be really clear about when something is AI generated,
Oh, that's interesting.
especially if it could be mistaken for human work.
I've seen some of those deepfake videos.
Right.
They can be so convincing.
They can, and this is about preventing people from being tricked by AI.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And these rules apply to any generative AI model that's been available to people in California since 2022.
Oh, wow.
So they have until January 2026 to comply.
So the U.S., especially California, is really moving quickly on this.
They are. Now, let's jump over to the European Union.
Okay.
They're taking a very different approach, focusing on what they call risk-based regulation with their EU AI Act.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. What makes it so groundbreaking?
Well, it's set to come into effect in February 2025, and it's going to have a huge impact on how AI is developed and used everywhere.
Wow.
The EU is categorizing AI systems based on how much potential harm they could cause.
So some AI is seen as riskier than others.
Exactly. They have 4 risk categories ranging from unacceptable risk,
Okay.
which means those AI systems are banned,
Oh, wow.
to minimal risk, which basically gets a free pass.
Makes sense. Can you give us some examples?
Sure, so things like social scoring systems that governments use to rank citizens,
Yeah.
those are considered an unacceptable risk, and they would be banned in the EU.
Yeah, I can see why.
What about high-risk applications, though?
Okay, yeah, like what?
High-risk AI systems like those used in healthcare, transportation, and law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
They're allowed, but they face really strict requirements.
So if you're building AI that could have a big impact on people's lives,
Right.
you're going to have to follow a lot of rules.
You'd have to do risk assessments, make sure your data is good, document everything, and have human oversight.
So the EU is really serious about responsible AI.
They are, and there are serious consequences if companies don't comply.
Like what?
They could face huge fines up to $30 million,
Wow.
or 6% of the company's global revenue, whichever is higher.
Yeah, that'll get their attention.
They're making it very clear that ethical AI is not optional.
So we've covered the U.S., which is taking more of a state-led approach.
Yeah.
And the EU, which is all about risk-based regulation.
Right.
What about the rest of the world?
Absolutely.
Mm.
China and India are making some big moves in AI governance,
Okay.
but we'll have to save those for part 2.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so we're heading over to Asia now
Yeah.
to see what's happening in China and India.
Okay, I'm especially curious about China.
Yeah,
It seems like they're always pushing the limits with AI,
they are.
but they also have really tight control over just about everything.
That's true.
So how are they handling AI governance?
Well, it's a really interesting situation.
Okay.
They're pushing hard for innovation.
Okay.
They want to be a world leader in AI, but they're also very careful to make sure everything aligns with their national interests and social values.
I mean, yeah, it is a powerful technology.
It is.
It makes sense that they'd want to keep a close eye on it.
Absolutely.
So what are they doing?
One thing to watch is their regulations on deep synthesis technologies.
Okay.
Those came into effect in January.
This year.
Yeah, just this year.
Okay. And what are those all about?
Well, these rules specifically target technologies like deepfakes.
Deepfakes.
Yeah.
Remind me what those are again.
Right. So deepfakes are basically fake videos
Okay.
created with AI,
Mm-hmm.
and they're super realistic.
Yeah.
You can make anyone appear to do or say anything,
Right.
and it can be so convincing.
It's kind of scary.
It is. They're definitely ripe for misuse.
So what do these regulations actually do?
Well, a big thing is consent.
Okay.
People have to agree to let their data be used to create these deepfakes.
That makes sense.
And anything that is AI generated has to be clearly labeled.
Okay, so you can't just pass off a fake video as real.
Exactly. It's about transparency
Yeah.
and stopping the spread of misinformation.
Makes sense.
And companies working in China have to do security assessments too,
What are those for?
just to make sure their deep synthesis tech isn't being used for bad stuff.
Okay.
They're really taking this seriously.
So China is all about control and security when it comes to AI.
It seems that way. What about India, though?
Yeah, what's their approach?
Well, India's doing something really interesting.
Okay.
They're promoting what they call a responsible AI for all approach.
Okay.
They want to use AI to do good things,
Like what?
Help with economic growth, social progress,
Uh-huh.
but they also want to make sure it's developed and used ethically.
So finding that balance, right?
Exactly, between progress and responsibility.
How are they actually making that happen, though?
So back in 2018,
Okay.
their main policy think tank,
What's it called?
it's called NITI, IOG.
Okay.
They released this whole national strategy for AI. It outlines their plans for using AI
Okay.
in different sectors,
Like what?
like healthcare, agriculture, and education.
So they're thinking about the practical applications.
Right, ones that can actually benefit people.
And the ethics, too, right?
Oh, yeah. In 2021, they put out another document.
What did that one say?
It laid out 5 core principles for developing AI responsibly.
5 principles. Okay, what are they?
Safety and reliability,
Okay.
equality and non-discrimination,
Mm-hmm.
privacy and security,
Got it.
transparency and explainability,
Okay.
and human-centric development.
Wow, that's pretty comprehensive.
It is. They've obviously thought about this a lot. Do they have specific AI laws yet, though?
Yeah, good question.
Not yet, but they're working on it.
Okay.
But in the meantime, their data protection laws already cover a lot of this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like the Digital Personal Data Protection Act
Right.
that passed last year that covers how companies can use data for AI.
So even without a dedicated AI law, companies in India still need to be really careful about how they use data.
Absolutely. And as AI continues to evolve,
Yeah.
you can bet India will roll out more specific regulations.
It sounds like it. Okay, so we've done this whirlwind tour
Oh, yeah.
of AI regulation around the world.
Yeah.
It seems like governments are starting to really understand the huge impact AI is having,
Definitely.
and they're scrambling to figure out the rules.
They are, but this isn't just about governments, is it?
That's right. It's not every organization that uses AI needs to step up and take responsibility for the ethical side of things.
Absolutely.
So let's get practical.
Okay.
What can businesses actually do
Right now.
to make sure they're on the right side of all this?
Well, it's helpful to think about it in 2 different time frames.
Okay.
Short-term actions for right now,
Uh-huh.
and then longer-term strategies.
Okay, I like that. So what are a few of the short-term actions?
The first thing, and this is so important, is risk assessments. You really need to carefully evaluate your AI systems for potential problems.
Like what?
Well, could your system be biased? Could it violate someone's privacy?
Okay.
Could someone use it for something malicious?
Yeah, you really have to think about all that stuff.
You need to anticipate the problems before they become a disaster.
Right, catch them early.
Exactly. And of course, data management is crucial.
Yeah.
Make sure the data you're using
To train your AI.
Yeah, to train your AI is in line with all the relevant privacy laws.
Right? All those different laws?
GDPR, CCPA, India's DPDP, all of them.
Yeah, data is the fuel for AI.
It is.
But you can get into a lot of trouble if you use it the wrong way.
Absolutely. Huge legal trouble, and you can ruin your reputation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so risk assessments, data management, what else?
Documentation.
Okay.
That's key.
What do you mean?
You need to keep really good records
Of what?
of how your AI is developed, what data you're using, how those decisions are being made, all of that. It's important for proving you're following the rules.
And for building trust too, right?
Absolutely. People need to see that you're being responsible and transparent.
Okay, so having that paper trail is super important.
It really is. Okay, so let's talk about those long-term strategies now.
Okay.
This is about making ethical AI a core part of how your organization operates.
Okay, so how do you actually build that foundation?
One of the best ways is to create a formal ethical AI framework. Maybe set up an internal ethics committee
Okay.
or hire an ethics officer,
Right.
and then develop clear guidelines that everyone in the company follows.
So it's not just about having the guidelines.
Right.
It's about actually living them day to day.
Exactly. And another important long-term strategy is investing in tools,
Okay.
technical tools that can actually help you follow the rules and minimize those ethical risks.
So like we talked about explainable AR.
Right.
Are there other tools out there?
There are tools that can help mitigate bias and tools for privacy-preserving techniques.
Like what?
Well, there are algorithms now that can help you spot and reduce bias in your systems.
Oh, wow.
They can help you see those hidden patterns
Yeah.
that could point to unfair treatment.
So it's like having an extra set of eyes
It is.
that can spot those biases that we might miss.
Exactly. Even the really subtle ones that we don't even realize are there.
Wow, that's amazing. And what about privacy?
For privacy, there are techniques like differential privacy
Okay.
and federated learning. These let you train AI models
Okay.
using sensitive data without actually exposing individual data points.
So you're saying we can still get insights from the data,
Yes.
but without compromising people's privacy.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing stuff.
It is, and these are just a few examples.
Right.
As AI gets more advanced, we'll probably see even more tools.
Oh, definitely tools to help us navigate these ethical challenges.
So it's going to take both organizational changes and technology to make AI truly ethical.
That's a great way to put it. And one more long-term strategy I want to mention is getting involved in those policy discussions.
Why is that so important for businesses?
Well, remember how we said the rules are constantly changing?
Yeah.
Businesses can actually help shape those rules by joining industry groups,
Okay.
giving feedback to policymakers, actually talking to them.
So it's not just about following the rules. It's about helping to make them.
Exactly, by being proactive.
Okay.
And speaking up, businesses can make sure their voices are heard.
So that the regulations actually make sense.
Right, and that they're good for everyone.
Good for society and good for the economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about businesses.
We have.
But what about governments?
Yeah. What's their role in all this?
Governments have a huge responsibility here.
Okay.
They need to create clear regulations that encourage innovation, but also protect the public.
That's a tough balance.
It is too much regulation can stifle progress.
Right.
But too little can lead to all sorts of problems.
Yeah, no one wants that.
So clarity and consistency are key.
Okay.
Businesses need to know what the rules are, how to follow them.
Makes sense.
And the rules need to be applied fairly to everyone.
To keep things level.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, so setting clear rules is the first step.
Right. What else can governments do?
Well, investing in education and research is crucial.
Okay.
We need to fund more studies.
On what?
On the social and economic impacts of AI.
Right.
And we need to focus on STEM education and AI literacy.
So people are prepared for these new jobs.
Exactly. AI is going to change pretty much every industry.
Not just tech.
Right? And governments can help guide that transformation.
How?
By supporting research, offering training, and encouraging collaboration.
Between who?
Between schools industry and the government itself.
So it's a team effort.
It's going to take all of us working together to figure out this new world of AI.
Absolutely.
And there's one more thing I want to emphasize. International cooperation is essential.
On what?
On AI. It's a global issue.
It is.
So we need global solutions.
Okay.
Governments need to work together to come up with AI regulations and standards that work across borders.
Yeah, because if every country has its own rules,
it would be chaos.
Total chaos.
It would be so confusing for businesses trying to operate globally.
Okay. So work together, make it consistent.
Exactly. And by working together, sharing information, learning from each other's mistakes, we can tackle these challenges much more effectively.
I agree. Okay. So we've covered a lot.
We have.
The ethics, the regulations, what businesses can do, what governments can do.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to something you said earlier.
Okay.
About ethical AI being about more than just following the rules.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's not about checking boxes or avoiding fines.
It's about doing the right thing.
Exactly. And making sure AI is used to benefit everyone.
Which is where trust comes in.
Exactly. So for organizations that want to go beyond compliance, what should they be thinking about?
Good question.
One crucial thing is inclusive design and diversity.
Okay.
We need to make sure that the people building AI are diverse.
In what ways?
In every way. Gender, race, background, everything.
Because if everyone comes from the same background and has the same worldview, then the systems they create are going to be biased.
They will.
Yeah.
And it's not just about who's building AI.
Okay.
It's also about who's being affected by it.
Right.
We need to involve the people who are going to use these systems and the communities who will be impacted and get their input.
From the beginning.
Yes, from the very beginning.
So the development process is truly inclusive.
Exactly. And another important thing to consider is the long-term impact on society.
Yeah, we can't just focus on the cool technology.
Right.
We have to think about the bigger picture.
We do.
Yeah.
How will this affect jobs?
Yeah.
What about equality?
The environment.
Our basic rights and freedoms.
Exactly. We have to be responsible and think about the potential unintended consequences.
How do we make sure we're using AI for good?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
I think it requires ethical leadership. Leaders need to set the tone. Create a culture where people care about ethics. And be willing to ask those tough questions.
So it's about walking the walk.
It is not just talking the talk.
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
They do inclusive design, thinking about the long-term impact, ethical leadership.
Okay.
These are all crucial for responsible AI development.
They are, but this field is so complex.
It is.
And it's changing all the time.
I know.
How can people stay informed?
Well, staying informed is key. Read articles, go to conferences, follow experts on social media.
Yeah, there's so much information out there.
There is. The more you know about the ethical challenges and the regulations, the better decisions you'll be able to make. Because ignorance is definitely not bliss.
Not at all. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, who should you ask?
Talk to the experts. Talk to ethicists. Have those open and honest conversations.
About the implications of all this.
Exactly.
So be curious, be proactive, and be willing to learn.
Yes, and remember, this isn't just a technical challenge.
Okay.
It's a human challenge. We need to bring our values, our empathy, our collective wisdom to the table.
To make sure AI serves us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the other way around.
It's interesting, we started talking about a regulatory playbook for AI.
Yeah.
But this has gone way beyond just rules and regulations.
It really has. The future of AI isn't about just following a bunch of instructions.
Right.
It's about figuring out how to use this powerful technology in a way that aligns with our values.
I like that. So as we wrap up,
Yeah.
What's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is this. The future of AI is not decided yet. We're shaping it right now.
Okay.
By the choices we make individually and as a society.
Right. Everyone has a role to play in this. In making sure AI is used ethically and responsibly.
It's kind of empowering.
It is.
To realize that we're not just watching this happen.
Right.
We can actually shape how it goes.
We can. And to do that, well, we need to move past all the hype and the fear.
Okay.
And really dive into those tough questions.
The ethical and societal questions.
Yeah, it's not always easy or comfortable.
Right.
But it's so important.
Okay, so for our listener, as we leave you today, we want to leave you with this thought. We've talked about all these regulations and ethical considerations. Do you think we're striking the right balance between innovation and protection?
Yeah.
What does responsible AI look like to you?
In your work, or even just in your life?
It's something to think about.
There aren't easy answers.
Right.
But by having these conversations, asking the tough questions, holding each other accountable, we can figure this out together.
Yeah.
And make sure AI is a force for good in the world. Well said. The AI revolution is just getting started.
It is.
And there will be challenges and opportunities along the way.
Definitely.
So stay curious, stay informed, and let's shape this future together.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.